80s, by the way. Hey y'all, welcome to Book World, The Great Escape. I'm author CJ Peterson. My co-host over here is author Michael Scott Clifton. Today we're going to be talking about reels. It's the real world. Mike is, the technical director that he is like, what can he add to it? Mike, what can you add to the real world?
Well, the disclaimer first that everyone watching, I have tutored CJ about social media reels, and I'm allowing her to take the stuff that I've done and use it in today's podcast. I'm very gracious in that behalf. So I would really, she can use my vast knowledge of things that bump on the social media page. So I'm going to nod a lot. I'm going to do this a lot, and maybe not much else.
Yes. The joke is that Mike is not technically, well, actually that Mike is technically challenged.
A bit, compared to my mother-in-law, I'm the next Steve Jobs. So, I'm right there. The thing we live in, it's funny in a way, CJ, is that we live in a time where technology takes leaps and bounds so fast that what is cutting edge a year ago is now, yesterday's news. And, and that's, I think, it's great to have someone like yourself who stays on top of that, because authors, need to be able to master the social media aspect of promoting themselves in their books, and reels and short video clips is part of that.
Well, the thing about the reels, though, I was actually doing a lot of research on it. They actually didn't launch globally until 2020.
Really?
Yeah. As odd as that sounds, they actually are pretty kind of recent, as strange as that sounds. It doesn't sound like it's been that recent, but it actually has been fairly recent when you think about it technologically wise. So it's kind of wild. But before we start, I have a Comic-Con coming up, and I want to make sure to announce that we're going to be going to Brazoria Comic-Con down in Lake Jackson, Texas on February 28th and on March 1st. So we'll be down in Lake Jackson, Texas, and we'll be having our little puppy will be with us, Tegan. We just got her last weekend. She is a little King Charles Spaniel, so she'll be attending with us. I'll be running the floor, super happy we're running around with. And so we'll be down there. If you want to learn more about Brazoria Comic-Con, you just have to look up BrazoriaComicCon.com. It has all the guests listed down there. I think we actually have quite a few. I think we actually have six or seven this time. So it's a wide variety. I know there's multiple Power Rangers that are going to be down there. So if you're a Power Rangers fan, make sure to check that out. I know there's multiple other guests. I know we have one of the Scream stunt guys is going to be down there. He's a pretty cool guy, Alan Robinson. We had him over at Victoria Fan Fest. He's actually really cool. So make sure to check him out too. But we have multiple guests that are going to be there, so make sure to check that out. BrazoriaComicCon.com down in Lake Jackson, Texas. That's going to be February 28th and March 1st. And so I'll be down there. So you can't miss it. It's always a fun time down at our Comic-Cons. So I always enjoy it. They are family friendly. That's the plus for us. So make sure to bring your little ones. And I always love those. So check that out, BrazoriaComicCon.com. So back to the real world, as I call it. As you noticed, we started doing reels for Book World. And so that's at a plus. And I also do them for my other podcasts, Imagine Making Mischief. We always do a reel, and we also do a thumbnail for YouTube. And I enjoy doing it because it kind of adds a little bit of an added element to the different podcasts. It lets you see a different side to the guests. It's not just one dimensional. It kind of makes it a little more three dimensional because you could see a little bit more of the guests. And I like doing reels for different ads as well. And being a content creator, whenever I go on different trips, or if I want to feature something that hubby and I did, it also allows us to go ahead and I do a short reel for it as well. Reels tend to be about, 30 seconds, or actually anywhere between 15 seconds to 90 seconds long. And they tend to capture it. You don't want them to go any more than about 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Anything longer than that, and you tend to get flagged. You need to be really careful when it comes to reels, because especially on YouTube, YouTube will nail you and they will block them when it comes to music. So you need to be really careful what music you add to them. You can get away with a lot more on TikTok when it comes to your music.
So is that because it's copyrighted, CJ? Okay.
There's a couple different platforms that I tend to use. I usually flip between two of them. I usually use CapCut and I usually use Kine, Kine. CapCuts you need to be careful with because I tend to keep them. And if you notice, and when you do go to CapCut, there are different templates. And the templates that they use are usually somebody else's videos. That's why they keep them. And you can kind of plug your stuff in there. But they're the ones that tend to have their videos tend to get blocked because they tend to use music that's copyrighted. So what I do with theirs is a lot of times I'll block the sound and I'll pull it over to Kine because Kine's music tends to not get blocked. So I'll usually block the sound and I'll pull it over to Kine and I'll do my own because I like the transitions of CapCut, and I'll pull it over to Kine and I'll put my own I'll make sure to put my logo on it in Kine, and then I'll sometimes put like a little header on it, and then I'll put the music from Kine because Kine usually that music doesn't get blocked 9 out of 10 times. There's a couple that have been blocked since. I don't know why, but that's a YouTube thing. But they get a really good reception when it comes to the different transitions from CapCut, which is what I like. But Kine has been adding more transitions, and so I've been kind of playing around more with Kine's transitions more. They've gotten a little bit more elaborate, which is nice.
So in terms of content, like you mentioned, you're a content creator. If you're putting content on a reel, okay, I know that in publishing that you also have copyright issues if you use quotes and things like that, but also that comes from somebody else's work without their permission. But what I also know, and I was wondering if I was trying to consider making reels, what is the rule or law when it comes to using music, comes to using images, or any kind of visual media that you would use in a reel? Is there an expiration date that if it was produced 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, that makes it fair game today without violating a copyright law?
Well, it's the same thing as it would be for, when you're making help me, anything. If it's public domain, you can use it. Public domain is usually, the 50-year mark, but you have to make sure that it's public domain. If you're making anything like, for example, a cover, if you're putting it in a book, if it's public domain, it's public domain. If it's not, you might get yourself sued. So you need to be very careful when you're doing stuff. So what I tend to do whenever I'm making my reels for like my book trailers, there are sites that you can go and you can buy short snippets. For example, I'll show you one of my book trailers that I have done. Let me find one of them. Okay, here's one that I did for Tested by Fire. Let me get in there and play it. Hold on just a second. I have to find it. I have a bunch of them stacked up in here. Hold on. There it is.
Nothing is as it seems. Nothing is as it seems.
You need to be careful on what you use. I have another one that I'll go ahead and play it for. And that's Chain Reaction. Which I actually am close to that one. So let me go and play that one. That's one that I made. And so I know that when I got those little snippets, that I paid to use those short snippets.
Okay.
Now, the one that you sent me regarding your book trailer, I'm assuming that it was the same idea and that somebody had paid for the snippets to use for yours. So I'm going to go ahead and play your book trailer as well, since we're talking about book trailers, because this is a great way to utilize a reel. So let me go ahead and play yours as well, since we're talking about book trailers. The great thing about reels is they are short, and the idea is to hook them, and the idea is to catch them, and the idea is to spell out the book as quick and as you possibly can, and to get as much information as you can in that short amount of time. As you saw in mine, I was able to not only spell out the story, but I was able to get the hashtags at the end, and I was able to tell who wrote it, and I was able to make sure to get in there who wrote it, the hashtags, and where to find it.
So public domain means it's fair game.
Mhm.
And there are sites you can go to buy images and short video clips that you can splice and add to your reels,
And music.
and music as well, right? Um, and if you're watching the podcast, CJ,
Mhm.
of course, I know this doesn't apply to me, but let's say that you feel a little intimidated
Mhm.
by the technical aspects of creating a reel for yourself. Uh, are there YouTube videos? How to? Is this something that anybody can actually do without having to climb the mountain, so to speak?
There is, and there are easier ways to do it. So, for example, what we can do is I'm going to show you. You know what? I'll show you this one. This one's probably the easiest one to do. I'm going to show you one that I did for a promotion for when I was on the corner bookstore. And the reason I'll show you this one was because it. Now, how I made
Good.
that one was on Canva.
Okay.
So what I did, and this is also how I make the ones that you guys, if you saw this one for books for Book World,
Right.
what I did was I took. Okay, mommy says, yep. CapCut has some good templates in general, though not sure how it translates to books and authors. That's basically the transitions, is how I made those transitions actually were CapCut transitions for that one. But you don't necessarily need that. But what I do is I use the actual TikTok um, social media actual window in Canva. That's the actual format that I use, and I make the pictures for
Hmm.
the windows, and those are the windows that I actually use for each slide. When that slides are done, I download them as JPEGs, and then I put them into either Kine or CapCut, whichever one I want to use. You can use Kine; it's Kine. That's an app, and they have a lot of good transitions now because they keep changing it frequently. They keep updating it. But if you don't want to deal with CapCuts potentially blocking it in YouTube, you can use it on Kine. And you upload it and those whatever order you want it to do it in. And then the transitions are right there. And it's really easy. And you put them in the order that you want them in. And then there's like a little plus between each little window. And you click that little plus, and that's the transition. You get to pick whatever transition you want. And they got some really cool transitions now. But you pick whatever transition you want, and then you go back to the beginning of it and you pick whatever song you want. There's short songs, and I wouldn't put it any more than 30 seconds to I wouldn't do any more than 30 to 50 seconds, honestly.
Okay. So when you say transitions,
Mhm.
you're talking about going from one image or video, or you're transitioning from one image to another.
Mhm.
So if you're using, say, short video clips that you splice together, the
Yeah.
interval between one to the next would be the transition. Would that be fair? Okay. Okay. And they supply those transitions. You can, from what you're saying, and I'm learning this,
Mhm.
CJ, as we're part of that podcast. It's kind of weird, but okay. So when you are putting together a reel
Mhm.
and you can choose a transition, are we talking about how long it takes? If there's
Well, the
one
transitions
music to the next?
yeah, the transitions themselves has their own amount of time for each transition.
Okay, a set amount of time, like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds,
It
something
has
like
its own time,
that.
but
Okay.
you choose which type of transition you want.
So when you say the type, what exactly does that mean?
There's different types of transitions that you can pick from. When you click the little plus, a list of transitions pops up, and you can choose which kind you want. So you just
So,
kind of got to go through, and it'll show you what it does.
so
And
can you give an example of one of those transitions?
the one we just saw. Remember how it spliced the screen?
Okay. Okay.
That's transition.
Okay.
Sometimes it'll like do like the box splits. Sometimes it'll flip.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Sometimes it'll spin. That's a transition.
So it's like a. I know this is kind of an old-fashioned term, but it's kind of like a special effect.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Now, when it comes to reels, I'm going to give some facts, some really cold hard facts, because some people need the actual facts. And you can't ignore reels. They may have only been around since 2020, but you can't ignore these facts. Instagram reels are played over 140 billion times per day, according to Instagram Business. You can't ignore that fact. 91% of businesses with 100 plus employees use reels in marketing. The audience demographics are between 18 and 35-year-olds. The average Instagram reel gets 243 likes, 8 comments, and 28 saves. They reach over 1.8 billion users monthly with 60 million daily on Instagram alone, 200 billion between Facebook and Instagram. And these are just facts. Now, the best time, so pay attention for those who actually post. The best time to post reels are in the morning between 8 and 11, or the evening between 7 and 9. The strongest performances are Wednesdays and Thursdays, overall between 8 and 12 in the morning.
Wow. So the morning's the better time.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. Okay.
Okay. Now, there's usually a 70-10 or 70-20-10 rule. 70% is value-driven content, which is like educational, brand building, and helpfulness. 20% is like shared content. So like the reels that I post between like the book world and Magic Making Mischief, or like the Comic-Con, that sort of thing. So like the value-driven would be like my content creating stuff. And then 10% is promotional. So like my books. So if you can keep that type of a rule going, you're not going to overwhelm the people who are following you. And you're not going to be like pushing your books or your promotional stuff, and they're not going to turn a deaf ear to when your books actually do come out. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So if you follow that type of an idea, and just like in books, when it comes to making your reel, you have to start with the hook. So when you saw my reels, you saw the hook of, the fire. Oh, there's a fire. What's going on? So when I did Tested by Fire, okay, cool. There's a fire. What's going on? So you get the hook, and then you get the meat of what happened to her. And then you get the rest of the information. And that's the same thing as when we're writing books. It's the same idea of formatting a reel. But that's exactly the same idea. Now, for those also logic people, I have a nice little chart for you. Instagram reel engagement for you. As you can see, the reels have high engagement when it comes to actually people watching them. It's pretty high up there. Yep. Numbers don't lie.
So if we have writers out there, authors, who aren't taking advantage of social media opportunities like Reels, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, then they're actually missing out on chances to connect with, from what you have said, as many as a billion people, or millions and millions of people, which a professional public relations agency would kill for those kind of, that kind of an audience to sell product.
Yep. And then here's your target audience. When we talked about the numbers regarding the actual numbers, when you're looking at it, you've got your 18 to 24-year-olds, your 25 to 34-year-olds, your 35 to 44-year-olds. If you're looking to sell books and stuff, if you're looking, for your content creators, the Cat Karen asked what we're talking about. We're talking about reels. This is your Instagram reels by age and gender. This is who are looking at your reels on Instagram. Again, the numbers don't lie.
It looks like, you read all the time on people who are promoting products, which if you're on social media now, you're inundated with them. But when you watch TV shows, movies, etc., one of the things that the reports that come out on whether the TV series, TV show, movie, etc., streaming service has been successful or not is the demographic that watches it.
Mm-hmm.
And from what you've shown on the graph, of course, the demographic is exactly the same. The coveted demographic is between 18 and 45, 50, something like that. And it's not that if you're younger or older than that, it doesn't count, but that is what I know advertisers look for. And that is what media companies sell their products for. Here's the proof. We have this kind of viewership, and so we're going to charge more money for it. And I guess, when you look at it from a strictly practical standpoint, it's the same thing with a small author or a successful author. If you have the opportunity to use this kind of tool to put yourself out there and the products, which are books, and you're not doing it, and I have to admit, I raised my hand, I've not scratched the surface on that, you're actually wasting opportunities. And that's, you're just wasting them.
Yeah. Well, and it's not even, you do it for books. Like I said, you do it for books, but you also do it for content creation. So for example, I'm going to show you one of the ones I did when Super Hubby and I went to, down to one of the state parks.
Okay.
You do it for content creation as well. So here's a
Wow.
Yeah. So and you can see that one was done by CapCut because you could see it up in the top. So you use, thank you, TechFlip said that's a really good video. Thank you. Can this be applied to any type of content creation? Yes, it can. So you can use this for content creation. You can use the reels for pretty much anything broad span. You can use it for books. You can use it for content creation. You can use them for anything. And when you use it, just gear it toward whatever it is that you need it. Because like I said, I use it for Journey Through the Dash. I use it for the books, which I've given examples for. I use them for promos. Whenever I go to do an author interview, I make sure to use a reel for it. I use it for Book World as much as for Magic Making Mischief. I make sure to do a promo every single week for both of those podcasts. And when you do a reel, it just adds an element up there, and it makes each guest a more of a 3D person as opposed to just a one-dimensional person on the little YouTube thumbnail. It adds an extra element to each person. So reels make everybody real.
Are you going to copyright that as well?
So thank you guys for joining us today. I hope it was helpful, and I hope it was insightful, and I hope you guys helped. The two elements that we use, I tend to use CapCut and Kine, Kine. I hope that helps you guys out a lot. You guys can ask questions. Feel free to email me. It's cjpetersonwrites@yahoo.com, cjpetersonwrites@yahoo.com. Stay tuned. Next week, we're going to have Brandy Wynn of Lee Bardwell Public Library. She's a librarian. She will help you guys when it comes to different areas in the library and helping you guys get your books in. Catch us next week at 4 o'clock, same time, same station. I'll catch you guys next week. Bye.